All aboard! Next stop, Chicago Junction.
Good evening and welcome to Chicago Junction, the radio program that is all about the amazing world of railroading, both the many facets of the industry and model railroading. I am your announcer, Brian Ballou, and here is the boss of the head of the Radio City Hometown Entertainment Network and Chief Electrical Engineer, Mr. John DeVita.
Well, thank you very much, Brian. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to another broadcast of Chicago Junction from the John DeVita Broadcast Center on the Windy City Hometown Entertainment Network and Jack FM 89.7 WRHS FM Norwich on Tuesday, April the 18th, the year 2017. Today, the panel will be talking about railroads and model railroads. And now to start today's broadcast, here's our announcer, Mr. Brian.
Thank you, John. And now, with our panel sitting ready to go, we now take you to our chief dispatcher, Mr. Jack Red Ryan.
Hey, I like that. That's a great title. I've been called a lot of things over the years, though, but it's the first time.
Yeah, but we have those things, 7 words I can't say on broadcasting airways.
That's right, yeah. There's some, kind of icky, too.
The George Carlin rule.
Right. That's right. You can prick your finger.
But I can't.
Enough already. Hey, good to see you guys. And it's I'd like to say it was a beautiful day. It's kind of cool, being that it was warmer. But hey, we're getting there, right? Being April what's today, the 13th.
Yep.
That's not an unlucky day, is it?
No, it's not a Friday.
Oh, that's right.
Thursday.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Is it Thursday? Yeah, that's right. I got a doctor's appointment on the 14th. Thanks for reminding me. John called me today and said, "Hey, you got your show tonight, don't you?" I said, "Yeah, I thought I'd send out a reminder, but I guess it was for the other thing." Oh, well, when you get to be a certain age, I'll remember your names. You're Bill, right? No, sir. Chauncey. Well, we're gonna start with a little roll call here, starting to my right.
Good evening. My name is Kevin Berry. I am a director with the Chicagoland Lionel Railroad Club, a retired Chicago police sergeant, and a lifelong collector and operator of Lionel trains.
I thought you was Chauncey.
You've been drinking curve grease again.
Hey. Next up, sir.
I'm Ron Stock, retired library director at Eisenhower Public Library, and train buff and advocate.
Hey.
How do you do, ladies and gentlemen? I'm Fahey Flynn.
Where's your bow tie?
Dave DeRusca, retired engineer, last worked at Metra, vice president and program director of the Black Hawk chapter of the National Railway Historical Society, and the author editor of a blog called Player with Railroads.
I'm your announcer, Brian Ballou. I am a member, retired Navy, and locomotive engine.
The alarm. Alarm went off.
You got your own
Breaking
cartoon
news
music
story.
in the background.
That was a nice dance routine you were doing there, Chief.
Plus former locomotive engineer and conductor. I do belong to several rail organizations, Chicago chapter NRHS, Garden Railway Societies, Midwest Rails, Chicago Area Garden Railway Society. I am a player with toy trains, Lionel, but basically all types. I do even have a set of Z-gauge. I belong to several historical museum organizations, the Heston Steam Museum, member of the Pacific Southwest Railway Museum in San Diego, California, and also the Reading Company Technical and Historical Society, Reading, Pennsylvania Museum in Hamburg, or Hamburg, if you wish.
And what's that place in Michigan that won't return my call?
The Heston Steam Museum.
Did you mention them yet?
Yes, yes.
Oh, I didn't. I wasn't paying attention.
I am also a volunteer with Operation Lifesaver.
Right. Okay. Do you have a hobby?
Oh, yes.
Hell, man, you're working harder than when you were working. Okay, thank you, Brian. And you have dulcet tones also. Boy. Yes, next up,
Hi.
Douglas.
Yes, this is Doug Kenyuk. I'm with the Railroad and Short Lines Club of Chicago, a longtime N-scale model railroader, rail fan, and adjunct professor at Wright College.
He's from academia.
Academia or macadamia?
Yeah. Now, there's a word. It sounds so exotic. Macadamia nuts. You know what? His name was McAdams. The European.
Buffet.
Galoshes.
And I'm Jack Ryan. I'm sitting in the big chair, and I have no credits to these fellas have, except maybe my grandfather, my uncle, and a cousin all worked for the Chicago Junction Railroad. That's probably where we got the idea for the show. That's I think the title anyway. So, thanks for listening, everyone. Okay, where are we going to go? What are we starting with? Can I throw something out first?
What?
You have it this time, Dave.
Go ahead.
All right. New Siemens Charger locomotives to begin Midwest service. That's not Siemens as in the guys that are in the ships. Siemens Corporation, Illinois, Michigan, and Missouri will be taking delivery this year of several new Siemens SL44 Charger locomotives, part of the multi-state order for the next generation diesel-electric locomotives awarded to Siemens in 2014. Now, these locomotives and the cars that they will be hauling, if they're ever built, it's another story, will be owned by the state of Illinois, operated by Amtrak, and in a new twist, Amtrak will not be servicing any of the equipment. The state of Illinois is farming it out to another company who has no facilities for servicing locomotives, and they're going to have to build a servicing facility somewhere.
Makes sense to me.
Yeah. Where? Anybody's guess.
It's a governmental way to do things.
Whose brother-in-law is on the committee? Has the guy on the committee making the decision?
Right.
That's
Siemens.
where it's going.
Right. The Charger locomotives are being manufactured in Sacramento, California. All the components for the locomotives are procured and manufactured within the United States. They are powered by a high-performance, low-emission Cummins QSK 95 diesel engine rated at 4,400 horsepower and built in Seymour, Indiana.
I try every year to see more Indiana.
There's a lot to see.
Yeah.
All right, I'll throw it to somebody else.
Yeah. Go ahead. Who, me?
Yeah.
Oh, mine was too much levity. It's not very important. Somebody else.
Today is the 25th anniversary of the Great Chicago Flood, when the business railroad underneath most of downtown sprung a leak where the tunnel crosses under the Chicago River.
Yeah, at Kinsey,
Yeah.
Chicago Tunnel Company.
And flooded almost everything. And I was on the computer this morning at the library, and there is a link on the Chicago Public Library website to a digital archive of the tunnels underneath the city. I didn't check it out. I don't know if it's pre-flood or post-flood. The pictures look pretty good, so I'm guessing pre-flood. But it's railroading. It's Chicago history.
And, if I might add, there a person who worked for the CTA, Bruce Moffett, he wrote a book called 40 Feet Below. And when the flood happened, He was the expert that everybody went to. And he is going to be the guest speaker for the Chicago Area Garden Railway Society on the fourth Sunday, the 23rd, at the Holiday Inn in Itasca. Meeting will be starting at approximately 6:30, 6:45.
In the morning?
No, in the evening.
That's pretty early start.
On Sunday. But if you go there, you'll be able to get some seats. Bruce Moffett will be the guest speaker, and he'll has a nice slide presentation to go along with it on the thing. If any people would like to go.
Sounds really good. As a matter of fact, it's hard to believe that's 25 years already. But it must be.
Yeah, I was teaching up at Great Lakes at the time.
All I can remember is that I had been downtown for traffic court. Where all of this was going on was about a 4-block walk from traffic court. I walked over there. All the construction guys had hard hats, and they'd taken a marker pen and marked River Rat on the front of the helmet. And a very attractive young lady reporter for NBC5, Robin Moore, was there, and they gave her a hard hat that said River Mouse.
Robin Moore, didn't he write the Tale of the Green Berets? And
No, this is an attractive young lady named Robin
old
Moore,
lady.
not the
Yeah, you'd
That-
like to see more of her.
Good.
harumph.
Yeah, that was incredible. That whole thing. It was like, how'd that ever happen to begin with? It was like, how can anybody?
They were driving piles along the river,
Yeah.
and they drove through the roof of the tunnel.
Yeah, the tunnels are still in use today. They're used for mainly phone lines and fiber optic
Yeah, they had this
stuff. And the Sun Times used it for a while to move newsprint from one side of the river to the other.
Then they had some gondolas later.
Yes.
Yeah, the rats down there. They had.
Gondola. So, yeah, 25 years already. Douglas?
Just a couple of things. The first train from China to Great Britain made it 2 weeks ago. Took 3 weeks to travel. That's 3 weeks less than by boat. And now they sent the first train from Great Britain back to China with merchandise, and it's expected to take the same 3 weeks to get back. So they're hailing that as a great breakthrough. Even though they got to change gauges and trains about 4 times on the way.
How long did it take Marco Polo?
Marco.
37 minutes. And he had to change his jetpack once.
Wisconsin and Southern, Wisconsin Department of Transportation owned a lot of rail lines from the Milwaukee Road, Northwestern, and a few other companies when they were abandoning tracks. And one set of tracks that ran from Sauk City to Prairie du Sac was leased to the Wisconsin and Southern. Wisconsin and Southern finally decided to give up service on it because there's no business. So now, according to the Surface Transportation Board filings, the Wisconsin Department of Transportation is negotiating with the Wisconsin Department of Natural Resources to turn this into a rail trail. Now, that part I don't understand. It's owned by the state of Wisconsin. What negotiations do they have to do when there's services stopped there? But they made this whole filing. They're asking for 180 days to negotiate, and the whole works. I'm like reading this thinking, you own the thing. What is the problem here?
Departments just don't get along.
Yeah, it could be.
Each department is a little
Fiefdom?
fiefdom, yeah, fiefdom, you know.
Fee-fi-fo, fiefdom.
And the barons are fighting for who owns the real estate.
So it's I think it's a matter also because it was leased to the Wisconsin and Southern. They talked about, well, who's going to be responsible, who has the liability on the right of way, and that's I think where the fight is coming from. Who takes the legal responsibility? So if somebody's doing something stupid and breaks their leg on it or something, who's responsible?
Wouldn't the owner do that? Isn't that
I
the
would-
state of Wisconsin?
I would think so.
They're trying to
Logic dictates.
figure out which agency is left holding the bag.
And of course, there was a setback for the trail people in Chicago. The Union Pacific, prior company Northwestern, was getting rid of their track from Wilson Avenue to Skokie and to Evanston. Now, the stuff north of Toohey Avenue is gone. Evanston's cut it all up. But rest of the track through Lincolnwood is now a rail trail. They're looking at making the city of Chicago make a rail trail to connect to it from Wilson Avenue to Devon. Well, the part from Bryn Mawr to Devon is going to become a trail. The UP just filed papers withdrawing the rest of the track from Wilson to Bryn Mawr, taking it back, saying, "Oh, we decided we're not going to abandon it. No more negotiation for a rail trail." Not sure what's going on there, but they decided they're going to take the track back. Now reports are coming up that they're thinking about doing something with their bridge at Kinsey Avenue, the one that's always up by the Merchandise Mart.
Yeah.
Well, apparently once a year they drop it and run a truck across it, because if they don't, they have to pay for it to be torn down. Now they're talking about actually starting some kind of service to there, even though there's no customers.
Well, that's a city landmark anyways. It's an official city
Oh,
landmark.
okay.
It's not going to get torn
Well,
down.
Union Pacific is going to start service on it for, nobody knows what the service is, but they're going to start running trains over it again. There's no place to go.
Yeah, right. Are there any tracks then? There's no tracks under the Mart anymore.
The tracks under the Mart's still there. I don't know if it's under the Trump Tower. I think it was torn out finally.
Yeah.
Same with the north of there. All the tracks are gone to Navy Pier.
Right.
So it's. I think the tracks are still under Marina Towers though, where
I've always wondered
Blues
about
Cafe
that.
is.
You say there's actually a landmark on that.
Yeah.
I've always seen it. For years I've come
Right,
down and
right.
worked on that.
Is that the line that was below street level, but just north of 321 North LaSalle, where traffic court used
Yeah.
to be?
It was on the
Yeah.
north side of the river. North side of the river is the original line that came in where the Merchandise Mart was. That's where they built their first station. Then they extended it to Navy Pier and the filtration plant. And then as slowly as those companies start leaving the city or stopping the service, they cut back, and
Right. That was the Merchandise Mart was the original location of Wells Street Station, which was the Northwestern's first major train station downtown. And when they built the Mart, they had a huge freight terminal on the west side between the river and the building. Did a lot of freight handling because the Merchandise Mart originally was built as a warehouse transfer. And they had rail docks and everything down there. They could transfer directly to boats too.
well, that's what it was all those showrooms in there for, was you walk into the showroom, I'll take 200 cases of that, and you could pull
Yeah.
your truck up or the rail car and have it delivered to you.
Right.
And then where the Peril Mart is across the street from them, that was also rail yards and stuff.
Right.
And of course now it's the Apparel Mart.
Now that area you said, just north of traffic court with all the rails were down there, that's officially Carroll Street.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
All I can tell you is they were almost the worst set of tracks to try to cross with your car. You almost wish you had a heavy military tracked vehicle, because they were rutted and they were never maintained.
I know someone who got stuck on those, crossing those, when I used to work down there, get to the garage.
No, they took the American Freedom train down there. You think driving across the tracks was bad? Running trains on the tracks was even worse. They managed to derail the American Freedom train, taking it down to Navy Pier.
I think that going back how many years now, was that one man, Harry Truman train came through there too. Remember it was like it was recreating Truman's whistle stopping or whatever. Do anybody remember that?
No.
Did I imagine that? You don't remember? No. That was
I was born in 1950, sir.
Okay, well this is in the 70s. So. Oh well. I'm gonna go look this one up.
I was either desperately trying to get out of college or desperately trying to get through the police academy.
Yeah. Yes, sir.
I have a couple of things that I thought were kind of cool. In the N Scale magazine, the Michael Gritton, who worked for Rapido, passed away, and they've been doing a couple of articles. One about the fact that he died and was fairly influential with Rapido magazine. But the other thing, which I thought was kind of cool, they took a railroad, N-scale railroad, model railroad, and they sent it around the U.S. and Canada and ran it as a memorial train, which I thought was kind of different, also kind of cool from a standpoint that he was that well respected that to do this. So anyway, I thought that was neat. The other thing that I was going to talk about is this is kind of like the travel season for to make your trips and decide what you want to do over the summer. And there were 2 articles and a book that were talking about in Train Magazine, Ride This Train, and they have a list of every state's railroad museums and other sites to visit for either riding trains, visiting a museum, and it's about a 24-page article in the Sun of the magazine. In addition to that, there's a book that called Tourist Trains Guide, and it has all the train sites by state in the United States as well as Canada, as did the Ride This Train article. And so if people are planning on maybe taking a train trip with their children, it'd probably be a great to have the book and also pick up the Train Magazine for this month, which is May. So and they highlight about every other state. They have highlights on one of the railroad museums or scenic railroads to ride on. And so it's a good resource if you're planning to do a driving or maybe take Amtrak out to certain areas of the country and do more training in addition to taking Amtrak. I would highly recommend it. Also, if you don't get the book you can get through Amazon and also from Kallenbach. But if for some reason you don't want to spend the money on the book, you can get them at your local public library. Should have a copy of it. So, and it comes out every year. So that way it updates, make sure some of these tourist trains are still running, as well as giving you whatever their hours might be for that you can visit them. So, and it's quite comprehensive.
And if that tourist railroad has been torn up for a trail,
Yes.
you can walk along it and make train noises.
That's true.
And where's those gym shoes? You just wear those.
Oh, that was the other thing. Broadway Limited is doing, they're sending out, they're selling gym shoes. Originally, I think they did them for kids, but you can also get them for adults. I think they have women's sizes also. And if you go to Broadway Limited site, they have their ad up about it. They found it at the New York Toy Fair in 2017, so they're fairly recent. And depending on if you click your heels or whatever you do with the shoes, it makes different train sounds.
Yeah, it brings you back to the home terminal.
Right.
Yes.
And if you run really fast, it goes, "Get out of my effing way!"
About 3 weeks ago, the 20th Century Railroad Club released their 2017 excursion calendar. So, you can go there and see if there's something you want to do as well.
Yep.
Speaking of excursions, 764 is coming to Chicago. 765, I'm sorry. One number off. It's going to be held, let's see, at the end. Yeah, Brian, you can talk about that.
No, you started.
No, let Brian talk about it, because I'm going to talk about something else that's going to happen at the same time.
Oh.
Metro opens shops to train readers. Tickets go on sale to visit 47th Street shops during the Commuter Railroad's Family Day event. And it's going to take place, I believe, that same weekend.
That is correct.
Now, it's first come, first serve for trains subscribers. After that, it will be open to anyone. Tickets are $50 per person and will include lunch and a weekend pass to allow visitors to ride the train into Chicago. Those taking the tour will ride special shuttle trains on the Rock Island District from LaSalle Street Station to the stops. Access to the shops will only be via these shuttle trains. Space is limited. So, and they have a the web article I got from Trains had a link to go order tickets. But like I said, it'll probably be sold out to Train subscribers. That's going to go fast. It's going to be a hot ticket.
Well, definitely. You were talking about the Joliet rocket. That is correct. It'll be the 17th and 18th of June that the train will be running. And it'll actually be making 2 round trips each day on Saturday and Sunday. What it is, the train goes downtown. We'll go to the LaSalle Street station. And at the LaSalle Street station, they'll have a party going on there. There's going to be a band. Let's see, what is it? You'll be able to take locomotive cab tours, listen to live music. They're going to have the Farmland Jazz Band, vintage cocktails, the Violet Hour, and appetizers are served by the North Island Catering. Photo opportunities. There will be photo run-bys on these trains. So they'll take it down. How they're going to wire the train is yet to be seen.
They're not. They're not going to wire the train.
Oh, they're going to have a diesel pull it back?
Yeah, they're going to have a diesel pull it back.
And they are going to not only go over the bridge, but the steam locomotive will be going into the 47th Street yards.
The storage?
No, well, that's where they're going to pick up the people in the yards, the employees,
47.
Really?
to take them down to LaSalle Street Station.
Wentworth.
Huh?
47th
Yeah.
and Wentworth.
Okay. Yeah.
Wentworth.
And
what I
It's over by that cop shop.
anyway, so tickets are available. You go to the Fort Worth Railroad Historical Society, Fort Wayne. Geez, what was Fort Worth? Go to www.fwrhs.org.
Go to our Facebook page.
Go to our Facebook
It's
page.
listed.
But there, at that way, you'll have you'll be able to get ticket prices and such. And if you don't ride the train, they got tickets available if you want to attend the party at LaSalle Street Station.
And the train only departs Joliet.
Right.
That's where the train originates. Buy a round-trip ticket. That's where you get dropped off in the evening.
That is correct.
You can't buy a ticket at LaSalle and take the train out there.
No, and no tickets are to be sold day of the trips.
Is it safe to leave your car at Joliet Station?
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, yeah. A lot of people park there. It's a big commuter spot.
Yeah.
Probably safer to park it there than in my neighborhood
Anyway,
because I don't live there.
that's good
You
steam
don't live
news.
in your neighborhood?
I don't live in Joliet.
That's a way. It's a way to avoid traffic accidents. Since
It's a beautiful day in the neighborhood.
Okay. Now
and now it's time for a break.
we have station identification.
And you are listening to Chicago Junction on Jack FM 89.7 WRHS FM Norwich and the Windy City Hometown Entertainment Network from the John DeVito Broadcast Center on Tuesday, April the 18th, the year 2017. And this is Jack FM 89.7 WRHS FM Norwich, Illinois. And now back to Chicago Junction and our panel.
We are the entertainment on the hometown.
And yes, with all the seriousness that we have. Now, like my cohort, Dave, I got something here from the Headlights and Markers, one of the clubs I belong to, the Cincinnati Railroad Club. This is their newsletter. And they got another thing. They were talking about your favorite locomotive. Yes, yours there, Big Red. The Texas Restoration Celebration. Remember the Texas locomotive? It was taken out of Atlanta,
Oh, it was.
and they took it to Spencer.
Yeah.
to be restored.
Was Texas, was that the name of it?
Yeah.
Right.
The
That's
Texas and the General.
They chased the General.
Yes.
Okay.
Backwards.
Yeah.
And you found out steam locomotives can go the same speed backwards as well as forwards.
So not sideways.
For a short distance.
Short. Very short. Anyway,
Oh, well, very good.
on the April 28th through the 30th, it will be unveiled at Spencer, North Carolina. And this will be the only time that the locomotive is shown outside Atlanta. But you get to see it unveiled after a year-long restoration. The locomotive, like I said, is the only appearance outside Atlanta. And for those with short memories, locomotive was built in 1855. The Texas locomotive, along with the General, took part in the Great Locomotive Chase of the Civil War. The American was built by the Danforth, Cook and Company of Paterson, New Jersey, which became eventually part of ALCO, the American Locomotive Company. For the Western Atlantic Railroad, the locomotive helped rebuild Atlanta following Sherman's march and closely tied to the rebirth of that southern city. It has survived through 160 years of that city's progress.
Did it ever almost, get scrapped or anything, or it almost happened to the General?
Yeah, well, they all came close until they were recognized for what they were.
I remember, like, as I was 8, 9, 10 years old, there used to be an overpass just east of Hallstown or 47th Street. They were bringing all these old cast iron engines in for scrapping, I guess it was. It was like, if you saw, how many hundreds must have come in?
How about thousands?
Maybe, I don't know.
Yeah.
But it was like, it was a video. How can they do this?
Anytime they put them in storage, it was called the deadline, and they were dead.
Yeah.
Next stop
fact-
was the scrappers.
Yeah, there
Sometimes
was-
you just scrap them on site too. They just
Yeah.
cut them up.
There were several locomotives that were actually going to be saved for the Baltimore, Ohio Museum. And from the C&O Railroad and the B&O, and apparently some of the dispatchers didn't like them, so they did things to them that caused them to get cut up. Like an EM1 from the B&O was a 2884 Yellowstone type locomotive. And what the guy did, he says, well, it's over in the deadline. Okay, we'll start scrapping it. So they jacked it up and took the front set engines out. And so that's why no EM1 was saved. And here's one. This one is called, Bite the Hand That Feeds You. Saginaw Timber number 2 is a locomotive that ran up at the Mid-Continent Railway Museum. The owner spent time rebuilding it so it would run again, and got it running. And when they were doing its test run, one of the crew members, the gentleman's wife, while it was doing a reverse movement, she had slipped and fallen and got cut in half by the wheels. Well, apparently the board of the museum did not want to be, distance themselves from the owner on the locomotive. Oh, it's giving them a bad name and such. And they only want to do a locomotive that they rebuilt. So they refused to let him run his locomotive up at Mid-Continent. Well, it ended up going to court. And the long-standing dispute over the restoration between the owner and museum ended in a binding arbitration that awarded the locomotive's owner, Roland Lichter, $200,000 out of his pocket for his out-of-pocket expenses in restoring the locomotive, along with interest on those expenses, plus legal fees and relocation of the 1912 282. at the museum's expense to any destination the lictor's choosing in the continental United States.
Oof.
This locomotive spent most of its working life for a succession of timber haulers on the rainforest of the Washington Olympia Peninsula. So, instead of letting them run the locomotive and gain money so they can finish rebuilding the C&W locomotive, it's okay. You big boy, you guys ask them. It has been officially, we're talking completely field stripped. The boiler is a shell, has been removed from the frame, and is being x-rayed at ultrasound testing to check for cracks and everything else and determine exactly what it's going to take to rebuild the boiler. And frames getting the same treatment. A lot of the small appliances that have been taken off, part of them have been already repaired and sitting in line ready to do, while there are ones that are used as beam patterns and be remade. So everything is on track for it to get starting to be put back together.
Outstanding.
Yep.
And let's see what we got here.
Hopefully they're better at putting things back together than I am. I always come up with one part.
Well, yeah, you figure.
I have a sock full.
Oh, definitely. Yeah, okay. Operation Lifesaver news. We got a big event taking place on April 26th at the Plainfield North High School. It's located at 12005 South 248th Avenue. And they have a thing there called Road to Reality. It's a program they've been putting on for the past couple of years in time for prom. And what it basically starts off with, a lot of the high school students themselves participate in it. Operation Lifesaver is a big part of it. MAD is there. The CN police help set up some of the displays. And what they do, it starts off on stage with a party going to be happening at this girl's house that's not supposed to have boys over. And all of a sudden they got a lot of booze. And a lot of kids come in the doors, and you have a big party going on. Now, if you want an idea of what it would start with, you can go on YouTube. And you go to, let's see, I got it written down. Go to Road to Reality dash 2016 Plainfield North High School students. And that gives you the start of the stage presentation. And at the end of it, it'll show what the display that they have outside, and what they actually set up a grade crossing accident. We got car turned over. You've got lights a flashing. They do have a big mock-up of the locomotive, tracks and all. Ambulance there, and kids laid out, blood squirting. Really looked good when the rain last year. Blood going a little trickling down. I would honestly recommend everybody go at least see this once, because after the party you have the accident, and you're actually walking through. They'll take you to the operating rooms. They'll take you to the kid in the bedroom calling about it, going before the judge. Coroner's report, and you have an actual coroner that does participate and talks about it, and you see what actually goes through the whole thing, what the whole process is, and not, and even talking about the locomotive engineer crews, train crews. It's something I would highly recommend.
If people can't remember the whole address, if they put just Plainfield students, they probably get that too.
Or
Yeah.
what's the
Road to
name?
Reality.
Yeah, type in Road to Reality and that'll
Road to
it'll-
Reality. That should do it.
Nobody here is on that road.
Road to reality.
We're on the road. We're on the road to unreality.
I thought it was a Bing Crosby and Bob Hope movie.
Yeah. But it's going to be the evening of the
26.
26th. It
Yeah.
starts at 6 o'clock.
I was listening.
It goes from 6 to 9. And what it is, they'll send you, depending upon first come, first serve, and you'll get sent in different groups to see it. There'll be display tables. We'll have Operation Lifesaver set up there. CN will be setting that up. Canadian National. But the other people will be there also. MAD and such. Mothers Against Drunk Drivers.
Yeah, not Alfred E. Newman.
True.
What, me worry?
Yes. And I as I said, I do highly recommend it. I hope to see one or two of you guys there.
Have you seen?
Yeah, I've been through it. This will be my third year working it.
No, I know you've been. I know you went with the organization for.
No. I've went to this particular event. This is my third year for it, and yes, I've gone through. And they say they're actually improving it more this time. So if you gentlemen have nothing to do, I hope to see you there.
And hey, kids, stop taking those prom pictures on the train tracks.
Yes.
Another big problem. Professional photographers who believe that any railroad track is a great setting for their photos.
Yeah, there was AOL has 50 captions of news on a daily basis, and 2 weeks ago they had one with a young lady who was having her modeling portfolio, and she stepped to clear the set of tracks that she was being photographed on, and stepped directly into the path of a freight train traveling in the opposite direction.
And not only was she killed, but her unborn child was killed as well. She was pregnant at the time.
On a slightly more pleasant note, for those of you who have been up to the Illinois Railway Museum at Union and had the opportunity to see the Chicago, North Shore, and Milwaukee Electroliner train up there, Mike's Train House has brought it back as a 4-car Electroliner set. There's a beautiful picture of it in the May 2017 issue of Classic Toy Trains, and having had the opportunity to go up to Union many times with my kids and hoping to take my grandkids up there in a year or two when they're a little bit bigger, the picture of the model does the real train justice. It's beautiful, it's well detailed, the coloring is correct, and it's designed to operate on 042 curves, so you almost have to belong to a train club to get the real benefit out of it, unless you've got an extremely tolerant wife that will give you the entire room to set your tracks up in.
I'm out.
You were out before you walked in the door.
I'm out. I'm sorry, dear. Just kidding.
Really nice seeing you paint this picture. I actually rode the Electroliner in disguise. They called them Liberty Liners.
Philly.
Oh, that's right, you were in
On the Norristown, yes. On the Norristown high-speed line. In fact, the sister to that one is in Rock Hill, Pennsylvania, and in the Liberty Liner paint. But it does have, see, they removed all the trolley poles from it and had third rail shoes. Well, to run in Rock Hill, it still has the third wheel shoes on, but they did put trolley poles back on it.
And it does run.
It does run. Oh, yes.
Which, I don't know, how far is the museum along with their restoration on that one? Because it doesn't run yet, but they're in the process of trying to get it to run.
What, IRM?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Almost a month ago, the weekend of March 10th, I was able to get down to St. Louis to spend the weekend with my daughter and son-in-law and grandkids. And my grandchildren took Papa to the Transportation Museum. And my granddaughter wanted to ride the trolley. But they weren't taking passengers because they were certifying new operators. But they did have a St. Louis trolley running to certify the operators. The other trolleys were parked, but that white over red St. Louis trolley was running.
Well, it makes sense.
Well, yeah, it's nice that St. Louis was kind enough to donate one.
True. Yeah, there was something and just...
Okay. Picture's been on, we've all seen it many times, The Natural. What was that locomotive in that they showed? Do you remember?
No.
No? No, for sure.
The locomotive in A League of Their Own is the Frisco Decapod that's up at Union.
Yeah, well, they filmed at Union.
Yeah.
And what was nice, they filmed Transformers there. The Extinction.
Oh, League of Their Own was filmed over at Union, Illinois?
Yeah.
Yeah, they shut the museum
That's where
down.
they used the Nebraska Zephyr sitting on the Y track was the Russian Decapod and a couple of things. Yeah. Oh yeah, they were real big about that. But no, they also filmed Age of Extinction up at the Railway Museum, and they were sitting there looking at what pile of junk is this? And all the steam locomotives filmed right along that whole track.
What's the movie with Burt Lancaster? Is it Underground?
The
France?
train.
The train.
Was that filmed
train.
in Europe or was it?
Yeah,
France.
France.
Well, I mean, yes, that's in Europe.
Very
That's
very
Europe.
good.
Yeah.
Very good movie.
Mhm.
Very good.
I know I've never seen the whole thing. I've seen bits and
Yeah,
pieces.
the other train movie he was in was the Tough Guys.
What about Cassandra Crossing?
No, that was Richard Harris.
Wasn't Burt Lancaster in that?
No.
Yeah.
No, Richard Harris was.
I thought Burt Lancaster was the officer in that with the, like let it crash. He was going to let it crash. Come on, John.
Didn't
Jump
Richard
in,
Harris
yeah.
have a song? Out for the day, I've gone away.
Cassandra Crossing.
You're thinking of MacArthur Park.
No. Yeah, I got the second half of this thing about the new locomotives for the states of Illinois is the Nippon Shiro, who was the designated manufacturer of the bi-level cars that were to be hauled by the brand new locomotives, is laying off 100 more people. The company says it's reducing its workforce because of ongoing technical complications with the design of one of its prototype bi-level cars, causing significant delays in their production schedule. The factory will continue to operate as normal until it finishes up other current projects. A series of layoffs were announced in both 2015 and 2016 following failed crush tests on the prototype bi-level car body. So things are not good for Nippon Shiro. And Metro has launched a $216 million infrastructure project for 2017, and if you think that's a lot of money, it isn't. Hardly. It's going to be for tie replacement, bridge replacement,
Couple of cans of paint.
a couple cans of paint, a few pieces of lumber. Oh, here we go. Improvement includes works on 29 of Metro's 241 stations, 21 bridges, 29 road crossings, and replacements of 57,000 rail ties. Metro crews will also be upgrading signaling and communication systems on each lines, ready for the implementation of positive train control ahead of the December 2018 deadline set by Congress. And the chairman, Don Orsino, is retiring at the end of the year. They'll be looking for a new chairman.
I'm available.
I happened to be on East 63rd Street Tuesday while I was working, and it was cut down to one lane in each direction because they were replacing ties on the Green Line elevated track, and they were taking the rails loose and then taking a chainsaw to the tie and just cutting it in the middle, and the two halves would fall down to the street.
A lot of ties working on that railroad, are they?
And they're very heavy-footed.
Anyway,
Yeah.
here's a question, guys. I've been, I kind of know the answer, but you'll hear this very often and people don't understand. I saw, and we've all seen it before, PBS had a riding on the South Shore of the last interurban. Interurban is just what it sounds like, isn't it? I mean, takes you from one location, ends up in the city nearby.
One city to the next.
Yeah. Now, and that's supposedly the South Shore Line is the last such thing in the country. Is that true?
All right. Well, interurban, yes. Passenger line, yes, it is.
Okay.
Now, there is an electric line still in operation in Iowa. Iowa Traction.
Mm-hmm.
They actually have 4 steeple cabs. Then they are freight haulers.
And that was a remnant of an interurban at
Yeah.
one time, right?
Now, going to the world of fantasy and art, we had a man named Fontaine Fox and the Toonerville Trolley.
Mm-hmm.
It would be the Toonerville folks, and the Trolley was actually one of the characters almost in the. And he would say, the Toonerville Trolley that meets all the trains was subtitled. So meeting all these these other. That's what it meant, wasn't it?
Steam railroads.
Was it?
Yeah.
Made connections the connections with the steam railroads.
Yeah. There is a difference, between interurban and your trolley lines in the city and such like that. Like North Shore was in an interurban line, but it came in on basically the loop.
Mm-hmm.
That's how it actually got in.
And the Chicago Aurora and Elgin came in
The same
on the
way.
Metropolitan West Side until they tore the elevated down to build the expressway.
Okay. I'm just trying to get some of this straight in my own little head. I thought I knew what some of it was, but
You got a big head.
well, yeah, it is a big head. 7 5/8. Hope it's not hollow.
Mark down from 8.
Yeah.
No,
But,
some of the interurban lines were actually, if the road traffic didn't take like it did, or the bus, they would still probably a couple more would still be in service today.
Like you'll see in a picture from Warner Brothers in the 30s, they're going to ride out to wherever it is, suburban Long Island or something. They always hop on the train. But the one with the song, 45 minutes from Broadway was a train, wasn't it? A train ride?
Yeah, going to New Rochelle.
Which was what? Suburban Paradise out that way?
Well, yeah, because you're away from downtown, from Broadway.
Yeah.
You got on New York Central. 45 minutes later, you were getting off the train in New Rochelle, which was countryside.
Oh, what magnificent Rubens. That'll be coming up pretty soon. But yeah, a lot of these things pass people by, and it probably gets kind of lost in, like we used to have, probably when you came on the job, I was on the job too, folks, but when you came on, it was probably going on, the old traffic accident reports would have what type of street. Boulevard through would have Traction Street was one of them that said. That meant the ones with the streetcar line, isn't it? Isn't that what that meant? Traction Street?
I think that was a little before my time, right?
No, they were actually still on there, though.
But, you know,
You
you're
said-
talking about some of the movies, the songs and everything. I have a request for a movie review of a film that I saw last weekend.
With Burt Lancaster?
Oh, yeah.
Well, somebody says I will make a report on it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
His wife posts a Facebook post about she and Brian are watching this movie.
What is it?
Please don't say it was.
Train Spotting.
Oh, okay. I thought
Train
you were going to say
Spotting?
Snowpiercer.
Now, if anybody, well, most of us are the rail fans. If you've listened, Great Railway Journeys of the World, became acquainted with Train Spotting, listening to Michael Palin talk about it. And that is a rail fan in England. Our train spotters
Oh, okay.
over in England and Europe, parts of Europe. And so I went and saw this movie in 1997 called Train Spotting. And I thought, whoa, this is going to be good. Well, it did have some trains in it. As background. And that was it. Except for the one guy, one character. He had a magnificent, whoever the decorator was in his room, wall-to-wall locomotives on the wallpaper. And this movie, Train Spotter 2, or T2, as it's called, it's a story of these four guys 20 years later. Now, they were good dopers back then. And apparently a couple of them still are. And the one guy comes back after 20 years. He was in Holland. And apparently he screwed him over on a couple things.
In real life, these actors you're referred to?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Ewan McGregor
I'm shocked.
was one. Robert Carlyle. I can't remember the other's name. But he's on TV on Elementary on CBS. He plays Sherlock Holmes.
Johnny Lee something or another.
Yeah. And he's a blonde in it.
Ah.
Anyway, and apparently they're picking up where they left off on certain things. And one guy actually gets clean. And one guy falls off the horse after 20 years. And then he starts starting all over again. Does it one time and no, I can't do that. But the nice thing is he gets to go home. And his father says, your bedroom is the same as your mother. You know, when you left, your mother kept it the way it was when you left. And so you go into his room, and you still see the same wallpaper there with all these locomotives. All steam.
Cool.
And they stretch it out going, they must have had a lot of steep locomotive wallpaper. But that's what Train Spotting is. The movie's about. If you want to go look for trains, please do not go.
Is that? Did you have to go to the theater for this, or?
Yes,
So
it was only shown in limited release around Chicago.
Yeah.
It's at the Regal Theaters, and we happen to be at the one up in Lincolnshire.
Kind of what used to call
Quite
art-
comfortable there.
art
I'll
house?
tell you what, if you want to see a go sit in a good theater, go to a Regal.
Yeah.
Oh, trust me.
They got the reclining seats?
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
And bar service?
Don't know. Didn't see.
We had the Hollywood Palm and Hollywood. What's the other one they did have out in Downers Grove or somewhere where you got the menu and they serve you what you order your cheeseburgers or whatever. And
They'll serve them.
only a room, yeah.
They redid the Chicago Ridge theaters over at Chicago Ridge Plaza at 95th and Ridgeland
Yeah.
in the recliner with limited food and bar service.
And they increased the price.
Of course they did. But you
I
don't,
sat
you
in
don't
the-
get noisy kids in the theater.
But see, I went to one of those Regal theaters in Wisconsin, and with those nice seats and everything, and I paid $7 on an evening performance.
And a slice of cheese.
And a slice of.
But look at it.
Oh no, I got a bag, buddy.
A lot of people in that theater were cutting the cheese that night.
You got a big bag of
Well.
cheese curds.
Yeah, look at it this way.
I believe we are coming to the end.
I was going to say, look at it this way, though. When you were a kid, a nickel gave you a nice big candy bar. The same candy bar, smaller today, is $1.29. So think about it that way. Which means,
Unless you go to Walmart, then you can get it for 99 cents.
which means that we've come into an end of one of our shows. And once again, let's go around the horn and say good night to everyone.
Good night, folks.
From
From
night,
Kevin
folks.
Berry.
Go ahead.
Go ahead, sir.
Ron Stack, wishing you well.
And good night from Fahey Flynn.
Goodbye from Doug.
Good night from Brian.
And this is Jack Ryan wishing you happy, what did I used to say?
Happy rails.
Happy rails to you, yeah.
We will make up a
Until the next
song
time.
to go with that.
I got it. We can record it next time. That's it. It's a wrap.
Somehow I missed the last page on that, on the first article.
As our express comes into the station, we want to thank you for joining us on our journey through the wonderful world of trains. Chicago Junction is a production of the Windy City Hometown Entertainment Network and can be heard on the web at www.windycityhometown.com, where you can listen to tonight's broadcast and all our past episodes, and also some of the other programs that are being offered. This is your announcer, Brian Ballou, till next month when we journey to Chicago Junction.
You have been listening to Chicago Junction on Jack FM 89.7, WRHS FM Norwich, and the Windy City Hometown Entertainment Network from the John DeVita Broadcast Center on Tuesday, April the 18th, the year 2017. Chicago Junction was produced by Jack Ryan, directed by John DeVita, and our special thanks to radio station manager Kevin Zeflik of WRHS FM Norwich and the executive producer of Windy City Hometown Entertainment Network, Mr. John Shikanda. Today's broadcast was pre-recorded on Thursday, April the 13th, the year 2017. Until next time, please be safe and thanks for listening.
This is Jack FM 89.7 WRHS FM Norwich, Illinois.